الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأولين والآخرين أبا القاسم محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم واسمعوا وأطيعوا وأنفقوا خيرا لأنفسكم ومن يوق شح نفسه فأولئك هم المفلحون. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
The Quran gives a short formula of the method of achieving success and prosperity in this life. And we do not mean a material prosperity, we mean a spiritual prosperity which is long lasting, or which is going to last forever. When we weigh our deeds with material benefit, we know that the material benefit are all temporary. They are going to disappear as soon as our link with the life is broken. Therefore, what we should be striving for is what we are going to achieve in the life to come, which is a permanent life. And under this context, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, and be God fearing as much as possible. فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم واسمعوا وأطيعوا وأنفقوا. And hear the message and digest it in such a way that you obey it, and then after obeying it you spend in the way of Allah. Support the projects, support the good work in the way of Allah, because you are aiming to achieve the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the Quran says that فَاسْمَعُوا وَأَطِيعُوا وَأَنْفِقُوا خَيْرًا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ, that this is the best for your own nafs. وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. See, nafs has been mentioned twice. First and the second one, and the one who controls or who subdues his greedy nafs, he achieves success. This is the formula. Whoever discovers, subdues, controls, and achieves a superior hand, a superior control over his greedy nafs, that is the way to the success. Now here, we know that human being is a very complex creature. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamuhu says, أتحسب أنك جرم صغير وفيك انطوى العالم الأكبر. You are thinking that you are only a small germ, a small cell, but inside you is such a huge alam, it is such a huge universe inside you. If each of the human being carries within himself a universe, can you imagine how complex this human being is? The complexity in today's Majlis will be quite clear in front of you, so that we come to know ourselves more and more. And what is that complexity? As you know, you have been told time and again in the school, in the colleges, that a human being has got a conscious self has got a subconscious self. Subconscious is a storeroom of memories from the time he is born until the time he breathes his last, his subconscious carries all the memories, good and bad. They do not distinguish. They just store the memories. Then it is up to you to distinguish and to obliterate or to remove the bad memories and replace them with the good memories. That is an extra effort that you have to put, and it needs jiddojahed, it needs struggle within yourself in order to pass through this phase in life. Now, you can imagine what sort of complexity is there. That a human being has been given a ruh, yesterday's majlis. I don't want to repeat it, but now I'm referring to you what I already said. Has got a ruh, something which is a heavenly element. It's not the product of this world. It is not the product of the material world. It is the product of heaven. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it clear to his creatures at that time that when I blow into him my spirit, ruh is translated as spirit. And nafs is translated in English as a self. But the self itself has got several categories, to which, if I don't get time in this majlis, then inshallah in tomorrow's majlis. Now, when we know that every human being is carrying with himself a heavenly element, a product of heaven, and that product of heaven is such whose secrecy and secret, and he is in the control of the Hakim, Al-Alim, who is the creator, the absolute power and the Hakim of this world, of this life and the hereafter. And that's why he has given very little knowledge about the ruh to anybody. And a human being carries also a nafs. A nafs is divided into several categories. But the link that our life has with nafs is such that the nafs has got a direct communication with conscious as well as subconscious mind. Now, the ulama of nafs have said that a person, when he dies, his ruh comes out. The ruh doesn't come out, does not depart every day. But the nafs leaves the body every day. When you sleep, the nafs travels from your body. And it explores. And it goes into the outer world. And that's why the dreams that you dream is because your nafs is traveling in the outside world. So the dreams carry the product of three elements, which you have to understand. There are some dreams which are basharat or ilham or inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those are the good dreams. Those are the dreams that which make you happy, which make you pleased, which make you spiritually oriented. The good dreams which come from inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through his angels. The second category of dream is from shaitan. These are the dreams which are horrible, which shock you sometimes. Sometimes they make you lose your sleep. Sometimes they cause nightmares in your sleep. These are from the shaitan. Third type of dream, and there is no fourth type. Third type of dream is what you have done in your conscious life. So all the ideas, whether good and bad, that you have stored within yourself, they undergo a certain experiment, or they undergo a certain chemistry, and they transpire in front of you in the form of a dream. The good work you have done, the bad work you have done, the good feelings you have had, the bad feelings you have had, all these, your entire experiment during the conscious life, they are stored, and then they undergo a certain process and they transpire in front of you in your dreams. So now the nafs travels from the human body when a person sleeps, but the ruh doesn't. The ruh can only and only leave the human body when a person dies. You see, and that is the secrecy of life, because it is the secrecy or the hikmat or the wonders that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created inside the human being, which makes the human being a unique in the entire creative system. This is, and that's why Amir al-Mu'minin has said that you consider, you think that you are only small germ. No! Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in you has created a huge universe inside you. Now we got to utilize that universe within ourselves. And this is the purpose of all the Anbiya. This is the purpose of all A'imma and Ma'asumin alayhi salatu wasalam, to train us practically, to give us a practical training of how to adjust and orient ourselves. And you see, Allah has not left us without any guidance. Allah has provided abundant guidance. In as much as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken upon Himself, has made it incumbent upon Himself that He is going to provide for us the rizq, He is going to sustain us in all circumstances that you can imagine. He has also taken it upon Himself that He is going to provide us guidance, so that nobody at all has got any complaint that he was left without guidance. This is the gist of the thing. Now I come to the experiments that are undertaken in certain universities, and I'll be referring to certain experiments just to illustrate a very important point in front of you about the role of the subconscious. The subconscious, you can't take it out. It is with you. It will remain always with you. It will have the repercussions of your feelings and emotions and your deeds and your actions and everything, even in the life to come, even in the hereafter. You can't get rid of it. Yes, you can replace it. You can replace it with good memories, with good deeds, with virtues, with amal salih, with ibadat, with prayers, with du'as, with fasting, with all the wajibat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made as wajibat. And in this way, you can wipe out all the memories of bad deeds and the sins that you have committed by resorting to this formula that Islam has provided for us. An experiment was held in a university across the Atlantic. In that university, what they did is this, that they carried out certain experiment on the animals. They took a mouse. They took certain mice and they put them into an incubator. And what they did is this, that they repeated this experiment several times because they were driving to illustrate or to prove one point. And they used to show a piece of cheese to the mouse, and naturally the mouse will be attracted because it is the food for him. So as soon as he was attracted, the mouse was attracted towards that piece of cheese, what they did is this, they passed through the mouse an electric current. When they passed through the mouse an electric current, the mouse started jumping and became upset and became under tension because he was feeling that there was, although he didn't know, but those who were carrying out the experiment, they knew that they are passing an electric current through the mouse, and the mouse behaved in a certain way. They repeated this experiment several times, so much so that then after this, what they did is this, that they carried out a last experiment, and that last experiment would decide. That last experiment was such that again they released the piece of cheese in front of the mouse, and the mouse came nearer to the piece of cheese, and as usual, he started behaving as he had behaved when electric shock was passed through him. But this time there was no electric shock. No electric shock was passed, no electric current was passed, and yet the mouse behaved as if there was an electric shock passing through him. So what was proved? The proof was this, that the mouse adjusted himself subconsciously in such a way that he knew subconsciously that when the cheese is shown to him and he comes nearer to the cheese and he tries to grab it, he had behaved in a certain way. So now in this last experiment, although there was no electric shock, but a mouse, because it was implanted inside his subconscious, so the mouse behaved as if there was an electric shock. Now from this they concluded that if a human being also, by passing through several experiments and adjusting himself habitually, If he does the same thing, what will happen is this: the human being himself is going to be adjusted subconsciously, and he will be behaving in a certain way. So this was the point that they wanted to prove, that the subconscious has got a great bearing on our conscious behavior, because the subconscious has been adjusted, because the subconscious has been trained. So they have another experiment in one of the Canadian universities. The psychologists came to a classroom, and then now this was an experiment, but they didn't tell the classroom, they didn't tell the pupils or the students that they were experimenting on them. And what they did is this: they say that we have carried out a certain experiment, and we have come to the conclusion, this was our finding, that the scientists have got evidence. The students having colored eyes are much more intelligent than the students having black eyes. In the next examination, the performance of the students having colored eyes increased drastically, and the performance of the students having black eyes subsided or decreased drastically. Then just before the next examination, they came and they said, "We are sorry, there was a mistake. There was a mistake, and we are correcting the mistake. The mistake is this, that the students having black eyes are much more intelligent than the students having colored eyes. So the performance reversed itself. The students having black eyes, their performance increased, and the performance of the students having colored eyes decreased. Then the psychologists decided that now it is the third phase that we have to go through, and they came to the students and they said that we are really sorry, but we have found out that the color of eyes of the students doesn't have any bearing on their intelligence. What happened is this, that the performance of both the colored and the black eyes students came to the same level. Why? Because whatever news was departed to them, whatever information was given to them, the students started acting according to it subconsciously, and it affected their conscious. It affected their apparent and the conscious performance. You see, this is the reality of the subconscious. That's why Amir al-Mu'mineen says that implant in yourself good thoughts so that you get a good result, and implant in yourself bad thoughts and you will get likewise results. Amir al-Mu'mineen was passing from somewhere, and he saw that a boy was being given certain information by one of his elder. What was that information? That information was such that elder was doing ghibat of somebody in front of his boys, in front of his boy. Amir al-Mu'mineen told him, be careful, keep your hearing pure, keep your hearing munazza, don't let it polluted, because it will pollute yourself. And how do you keep the hearing pure? By refusing to hear any ghibat. He told him, see, this man is emptying all the dirt that he has got in his vessel into your vessel. But now it is up to you whether you accept it or you reject it. And I'm advising you, let him keep his dirt with himself and not pollute you. So keep your hearing pure. Now, since our hearing, our eyesight, our feelings, our emotions, our tongue, all has got a direct connection, a direct bearing on our subconscious. That's why it is absolutely essential to keep all these channels so pure that they do not pollute our subconscious mind. Now here, having said this, that this is the importance of subconscious, and the subconscious has to be kept pure. if you pollute it with bad memories, another example I will give. You see how much we are engaged in our daily life, and we become busy and we become materialistic orientated, that all this has got repercussion on our, not only on our subconscious level, but also on our subconscious level. We come from work very exhausted. We bring in our home life our worries from the work, don't we? We do it. Now, because we have not kept our subconscious pure, that when, for example, we are attending prayers or we are attending a majlis, then we have to be totally conscious towards the prayers. There hasn't to be an absent-mindedness in prayers. There hasn't to be absent-mindedness in fasting. There hasn't to be absent-mindedness in performing Hajj or Zakat or Khums or Jihad. We have to be so much conscious about, because these are invaluable properties or possessions or wealth that has been given to us as bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we have to protect them very meticulously, because our hisab and iqab depend on this, isn't it? Our hisab and iqab depend. Yet, one of the realities of life is this: we come to the prayers and we are absent-minded. The prayers start and we bring all our worries with us in the prayers, in the prayer room, in the masjid, in the imam barga, during the majlis. The majlis is being recited and the mind is traveling somewhere else, and the mind is exploring something else. The prayers are being recited and we are praying Subhana Rabbiyal Azim wa bihamdih, and the subconscious tells you, but this person who has disturbed you today in the work, I wish I could have replied to this person who has annoyed me in a certain way. Sami Allahu liman hamida, Allahu Akbar, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la wa bihamdih. The subconscious says, but next time if he tells me the same thing, that I am going to reply him in a different way. So are you praying or are you talking to yourself? Are you praying or are you mixing up your worldly life with the spiritual life, with the ibadat of Allah, which have to be performed only and only for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? See, that's why when people keep on asking that why are we not getting the result of our ibadat and our prayers and our fasting, it is because we have not controlled our subconscious, we have not controlled our nafs. And in so many ahadith of the Ma'asumin alayhi salatu wasalam, they have emphasized and overemphasized the need of controlling your nafs, the need of controlling your nafs. When we train ourselves, and there has to be a meticulous training. I am not saying, as I said in the first majlis, it's not an easy process. It is a very difficult process. But this is what the trial of the life is all about. Allah is trying us in all circumstances. Wherever we are, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying us. But at the same time, the Ma'asumin are telling us that you have to have an absolute control on your nafs, or the nafs is going to control you. And if the nafs is going to control you, straight away it is going to take you to the evil-orientated self. When it takes you to the evil-orientated self, then the shaitan, the path of the shaitan will be open, and he is going to mislead you, and he is going to make you indulge in sins. And this is why people indulge in sins, because they have not trained themselves to control themselves. And this is why at the community level, if we come at the societal level, if we come at the level whereby the history has recorded abundantly that those people who had no control on themselves, they were the slaves of a nafs al-ammara bisu, the evil-orientated self. Now the evil-orientated self played on their mind. It conquered their mind. It made them indulge in sins and crimes. And the crimes that they have committed, even the kuffar had not committed. Look at with your own eyes. I mean, we are in the 21st century. We thought that the phase of eating the human liver has already passed. Has it passed? Look at the YouTube. Has it passed? The human liver has been eaten in Syria, and we do not know. But this is why. This is the result of the polluted self. It doesn't fear Allah. It doesn't know the purpose of life. The purpose of life is this, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us enormous potential to do good for everybody. To do good for not only for your Mu'min brothers, even for your Muslim brothers, not only for your Muslim brothers, even for those, doing of good is the conduct of a real Muslim. He has to show through his deeds and through his akhlaq that the guidance of Islam is for everybody, not only for Muslims. Islam has not come only for Muslims. The Jannat has been created for everybody who does good, provided he follows the path of all prophets without any exception. Now, I've said many things. In this one sentence, I've said many things. Of all the prophets, without any exception. Now, if we train ourselves in this way, then through our deeds, through our actions, through our akhlaq, we can prove to the non-Muslim world, we can prove to those people who are do not share the same belief and the same faith as us, that look, our faith is open for everybody. Our faith even preaches the doing of good to non-Muslims. And this is a fact. And there are so many examples in the seerah of the Prophet which prove this point. But when this clash occurred between the good and the evil transpired itself in the time not of Imam Hussein, in the time immediately after the death of the Prophet, after the demise of the Prophet. This conflict between the good and the evil started widening its gap, and it widened its gap to such a level there was no Muslim who hadn't heard the fazail of Amirul Mu'mineen from the tongue of the Holy Prophet. Was there anybody? So many fazail of Amirul Mu'mineen have been narrated even through his deadliest enemies. They knew what was the truth. They knew that Ali was on haqq, because the Prophet has said, Ali ma'al haqq wal haqq ma'a Ali. Isn't it? But in front of 120,000 companions of the Prophet, Rasulullah had made it absolutely clear, beyond any doubt, that he is not leaving the world, he is not leaving this life without making arrangements for his successor. Everybody knew. And yet, Shaitan had conquered their self, because they did not control their self. They left it loose for the Shaitan to carry out his mission on them, and they became the slaves of Shaitan. Look what type of slavery they showed through their deeds. By submitting themselves, by submitting their soul to Shaitan. That in the incident of Karbala, every single martyrdom that has been rendered for the sake of saving Islam, for the sake of protecting the Quran, for the sake of protecting the message and the sunnah of the Prophet, is unique in its own right. Whether it is done by kids, by small children, by youths, by old aged, by disabled, or by women. Every single incident is an ibrat for us, provided when we think and we ponder and we pass the message to others that this is our religion. Come and see what sort of values it has. Come and see. There is no other ideology or any other religion or any other mazhab in the world which has presented such unique examples and values as Islam has presented through Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam. Now, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam left Makkah, about leaving Medina we have already talked, left Makkah, and Muslim was sent as his emissary. Muslim was martyred in, as we said in last night's Majlis. there is a difference in riwayat, whereby Sheikh Abbas al-Qummi rahmatullahi alayh, in his book, in his famous book, An-Nafs al-Mahmum, which is about the Maqtal of Karbala, specifically mentions that the two small boys of Muslim bin Aqil, one was 8 and one was 10, they were martyred after Karbala, after the Shahadat of Imam Hussain. They were martyred after the Shahadat of Imam Hussain. This means that they were there in Karbala. Muhammad and Ibrahim, with the other two sons of Muslim bin Aqil, were there in Karbala. What happened is this, that in Sham-e-Ghariba, when there was so much confusion and children got dispersed and started running here and there, in that confusion, apparently two children who were in the entourage of Imam Hussain, they ran so far that they entered the borders of Kufa and they were arrested. They were arrested and they were imprisoned. They were imprisoned after the martyrdom of Imam Hussain, and the captives came, and the captives were put in one jail and these children were in another jail. And apparently they remained for a long time in captivity. And when they were released by somebody who sympathized with them and who was the Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen, because they introduced the way, look at the way of doing tabligh. They introduced themselves through the Prophet, through the relations they have with the Prophet, through Ahlul Bayt, the relations that they have with the Ahlul Bayt, in such a way that the person was overcome and he released them. When they were released, and they came in the clutches of this Bal'un Haris, and Haris brought them at the river bank, and he said that I am going to kill you, and he killed them, and he brought two small heads. Their face was shining as the full moon, and the heads were brought in front of Ibn Ziyad. Ibn Ziyad, despite the fact he was so much oppressive, and he was such a barbarian, he had that his zulm was quite known. His oppression was quite known. Despite this, when he saw these beautiful heads in front of him, he could not have control upon himself. He got up from his throne. He sat down again, he got up again, he sat down again. This was the state of shock on Ibn Ziyad, that he started asking, "Oh Haris, what have you done?" Haris said that these are the sons of your arch enemy. These are the sons of Muslim ibn Aqil, and I have brought their head. I have brought their heads in order to please you. Ibn Ziyad said, Haris, tell me, when before you did this deed, this vicious deed, did they tell you anything? He said, yes. They told me, Haris, we are the family of your prophet. Have mercy on us. Ibn Ziyad said, what did you reply? I said, I have no mercy in my heart. Then what did they say? He said that they told me, if you want money, take us to the market and sell us in the market and you will have plenty of money. I said, no, I will take my gift from Ibn Ziyad. I seek nearness with Ibn Ziyad. Then what did they tell you then after that? They said, oh Haris, take us to Medina. We are going to enrich you as much as you want, but don't kill us. I said, no, I am going to kill you, and I am going to take my gift from Ibn Ziyad. He asked him, what did they tell you then? He said, they told me, Haris, give us that much, a few moments that we can pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What did they say in their prayers? They said, Ya ahkamul hakimin, ahkum baynana wa bayna hadha ar-rajul. Oh, the judge of the judges, decide between us and between this man, between our killer. Then what did you do, Haris? He said, I lifted my sword and I beheaded the elder brother, Muhammad. What happened then, Haris? Ibn Ziyad became too much enthusiastic in order to know each and every stage through which these small children pass. Haris said the small brother could not bear to see his elder brother being killed. He started weeping and crying, and he colored himself with the blood of his elder brother. Haris, you have committed such a crime, Nazia said, that I am going to punish you in the same way that you have killed this. And he called, somebody called Muqatil. He told Muqatil, take this man where he has killed these two children, these two kids, and kill him in the same way. Muqatil happened to be one of the members of the Shias of Ahlul Bayt. He dragged him and brought him at the river bank. And when people came to know that the killer of small children has been arrested, they all gathered together. Some people started throwing stones at him and spitting at him. He was brought at the river bank, and he was killed in the same way that he had not shown any mercy towards the children of Muslim ibn Aqil. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات، وتابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات، إنك مجيب الدعوات، إنك قاضي الحاجات، إنك على كل شيء قدير. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.